Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode in the White Owl Talk series. Today we have a very special guest. We'll be interviewing Mr. Niranjan Nagar. He works in areas that touch our daily lives: music, network, and now games. Our guest has been at the center of most major trends that have shaped digital media, convergence of gaming and social media, streaming music, and next-gen video entertainment. Working at leading companies like Facebook, Electronic Arts, Samsung, and Verizon Media, he graduated from Drexel University with an MS in computer science. So, if you watch a movie set in 2030 and the actors are experiencing the entertainment world, it would be quite close to what our guest, Mr. Niranjan Nagar, is working on now. Mr. Nagar, welcome to the White Owl Talk series.
Thank you, Varun. Very nice to be here with you, and hello to everyone who is watching this.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Are you a science fiction fan?
I am. I used to really enjoy watching Star Trek when I was in India, actually, growing up. Early series with Will Shatner,
Don't you
and yeah.
Don't you think the digital media world is mimicking the imagined world in science fiction?
I think in many ways, science fiction, imagines what is the potential based on, today's technology and of course human imagination of what is possible, or as they say, the art of the possible. And I think in many ways, the best that we can achieve is driven by a lot of our human imagination, which has led to a lot of innovation in these days.
Yeah. So how was it growing up for you?
I grew up in Bangalore in India. Went to normal high schools, and I also went to college in India in a place called Bagalkot, where I did my undergrad in computer science, which was just introduced. In fact, I was in the second batch of computer science. And back in that day, it was funny because no one really wanted to pursue computer science. It was so new. People were interested in civil engineering or mechanical engineering and those other fields. So it was, there was a lot of openings, if you will, for computer science because not many people wanted to go. And that's how I ended up taking that. It was pure chance. I did not really research at that time. I didn't know much as a high school student. Unlike today, it wasn't like there was internet or other ways in which you could learn. So it was fortunate that I picked a place or a topic that I was luckily good at. Hopefully your viewers, many of the high school students today, don't have to depend on luck to drive their career. They can be well informed. Of course, luck does play a part in it, but that's how I ended up getting into computer science.
Yeah. And when was the first time you used a computer, and what machine did you use?
Very, very, very good question. I actually didn't physically touch a computer until I got into computer science in college. And because, as I told you, it was in the early stages of the department being formed and computers being formed, we were part of the electrical engineering department. And we had one computer. It was made by a local company called Usha, which used to make sewing machines, if you remember.
Oh, wow.
And it was a PC that was built with 8086, I think, at that time, Intel. It had basically 2 floppy drives, and that's about all you could use. So, we used to program in Pascal, where the Pascal compiler was on 2 floppy drives. So, you would write your code in one floppy drive, and the other one had disk one of the floppy drive. And halfway through the compilation, it would say, "Okay, switch to disk 2," and you would flop over into the disk 2 to continue with that. So that's when I first really physically laid my hands on a computer. It was too expensive for us to afford, and it wasn't something that we would buy in a home daily use.
Yeah. And you had interned in Microsoft in 1990 to work on features in the first version of the source profiler. And
Yes, I did.
yeah, and Microsoft was a very young company at that time. So for a computer science grad, how was it to intern at the startup stage of Microsoft?
Yeah. Before I went to US to pursue my undergrad actually master's in computer science, I went to work at Wipro in India. So I worked in Wipro Infotech in India. Actually, at that time, it was Wipro Technologies. And we were building software for a company in Switzerland. So I kind of had some exposure to practical work in the field. And I had built a version during my undergrad compiler as a project, as my final year project. I had built a compiler. And I had done similar type of work when I was in Wipro. So when I applied to an internship in Microsoft, I was placed in the compiler group. And at that time in 1990, Visual C, what is today Visual C, the very first version of Profiler was being built. And I was part of that team. It was just a lead engineer and myself working on that. And so that's how I got the opportunity because of some of the work that I had done in the past. So I was very fortunate to be part of that team. And I built a few features at that time, which was released later as the first version. I think it was Visual C. I forget if it was Visual C 6 or 7, but it was one of those versions of the compiler.